And we are live. This is Mack Bolen, and I am here tonight getting ready to do the hashtag Mission 22 Multigun Championships. This is a recap, and I am joined again with sponsored shooter Jay Carillo and match director Jim Welker. Welcome to the program. Now, before we get started, I'm going to run through a few shout-outs. I want to shout out particularly to Tom Satterley and Jack Stottlemyre, both former unit members of mine. Tom Satterley, also with his lovely wife, Jen, run the All Secure Foundation. And, of course, Jack Stottlemyre, Rustic Knives, who provided the tomahawks. Jack also, both of them. Tom, interesting narrative. He went through a very serious period. Jack also went through a pretty dark period. Both guys are great dudes, so I'm going to tell them a shout out. And secondly, shout out to Tom Stewart. Thank you, Tom, for handing me my first ever procedural penalty. Secondly, to Team Sasquatch for excellence in ROing and basically chewing ass and getting slow and non-stage resetters to get their asses moving. And Todd, thank you. Coining your ass made my day. Another shout out to Ken and Will. Attention to detail. You checked my shotgun ammo to make sure I didn't have double-aught buck this time. And another shout out to Jeff, ROing. After the lightning bolt struck me between the eyes that I realized I'd passed up 4 paper targets, yelling while I ran back up range, watch the 180, watch the 180. No, further up, further up, further up. Okay, right there. Yes, you're okay. There. And lastly, a thanks to my guest, Jim Welker. When you had to come to the stage I was on and the stage next door to deal with a couple of incidents, and then shortly after, your thoughtful words of encouragement to me when you said, damn it, Mac, don't you go and get DQ'd today, okay? I really appreciated that.
Got to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, okay. So start off, hashtag Mission 22 Multigun Championships. Jim, match director. Go ahead and talk about what Mission 22 is and what went into setting it up.
Hello, you there?
Yeah, we hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jim. We hear you. Go ahead.
I can't hear you, though.
No, you're good. Go ahead and talk.
Yeah, so what am I responding to for a question? I can't hear you.
Can you hear Jay?
No, you guys are like almost muted or off speaker.
Did you turn your volume down by mistake, Jim?
It looks like he muted his mic.
He muted his mic, he still would hear us.
Yeah,
He's just hitting all the buttons now.
it shows him muted. Hang on, let's...
Yeah, for some reason my mute's on. It's not coming off.
Yeah. Now I can hear you, though.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
All right. Let's roll with that then. Yeah, I could.
Okay, so we're basically just asking you about what Mission 20... Go ahead and explain what Mission 22 is and the, you know, as a match director, setting the tournament up.
Well, that could be a really, really long conversation.
Go ahead. Shoot.
Be a quiet one, too, if you keep muting.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
All right, there you go. All right, so Mission 22 was founded by a couple of group guys. Really great group. They basically came back from combat, noticed that there was an epidemic of our veterans committing suicide. Pretty epidemic to the point of about 22 a day. So Magnus Johnson decided to jump in and try and get something moving. Started as Elder Heart. It was kind of an artistic thing where they made some monuments for the soldiers that had passed. It kind of morphed into Mission 22. Mission 22 now has over 2,000 ambassadors. They're getting a lot more organized. It's a great group anybody can become a part of, but basically what it does is it helps basically civilians that have turned into warriors and have now turned back into civilians learn how to deal with everything they've been through. There's a lot of us that have been in combat and have come back home, and we kind of struggle with going back to civilian life.
Been through.
I'm sure you can. I'm sure you feel kind of the same way there, Mac.
Yeah.
You know what we're really good at doing is we're really good at taking young guys and turning them into warriors, sending them overseas to battle. But what we're not really good at is teaching them how to adapt back to civilian life and teaching them how to heal and move forward when they get back home.
Amen. And so, I'm going to speak a little bit on that, once we get ready to wrap this thing up. But it's a very good point. And they do good work. And there's other organizations out there as well. So, and I would say from a personal experience, and I'll mention a little bit later, that we all have known, those of us who are veterans who served have probably known guys who have been in that dark place and have, thought about that situation.
Yeah, definitely one of the things is that Magnus kind of preaches is kind of moving forward. There is no going back, but it really takes to heal and move forward. Really takes growth and moving forward. So what you had experienced just becomes a life lesson, and there's a lot more to live. But yeah, that's definitely the whole key point of Mission 22, and it's widely supported. And we were just fortunate enough to have Aurora Sportsman's Club back us with hosting this fundraiser match.
Yep.
I think it turned out to be a great match. A lot of people supported. A lot of people had a lot of fun. And we plan on growing it further next year. And we had some mistakes along the way. We recognize those, and we definitely want to move forward with it for next year.
Sure. And you had a lot of great sponsors, and for obviously for those who didn't see, we talk about a prize table. It was amazing.
Oh, absolutely. Tank put together a heck of a group of sponsors, and what a great group of people. I posted a couple of videos even before the match. Just the fact that all these great companies are coming together for this cause speaks volumes about them. I mean, just not only as Americans, but, just sponsors in general that support our veteran community and our shooting community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like you said, again, look at the prize table. If you weren't there, you wouldn't know. But I mean, in the sense of donations of ammunition, parts, full guns, and Evan Nickel, God bless you. You won the military division, and you got the doggone RB3G receiver I would have loved to have. And looking back, I should have just paid off Jay Carillo to grab it for me first, because because I wasn't getting anywhere close to that.
You could always call him and barter with him.
Yeah.
I'm sure Evan has got some other things that he might want that he might part with that.
Yeah. But and I want to say congratulations, because Jay finished first overall, and he won the, I believe was the optics division.
Yep.
TAC Optics.
Thank you.
And great job. And again, for those of you, if you caught the last podcast, you know what I'm talking about. And for this podcast, Jay is a sponsored shooter. He's a stand-up guy. He's pretty much the #1 dude in this area here. And the nice thing is tonight, from a perspective point, Jim was the match director. Jay, you're obviously a very experienced competitive shooter, me being a rookie. So we've got pretty much 3 different, perspectives on the entire thing.
Yeah.
So, Jim, I'm going to go ahead and now let's talk first. I'm going to go, Jim, stage setups. I believe Lewis was involved in most of the stage setups, correct? From Polo?
Yes. Bill Lewis is a huge proponent of options, as well as am I. I gave Bill pretty much free reign to do whatever he wanted with the stages. We did talk a little bit, and we changed a few things, added a few things here and there. Afterwards, we did go through and see a few things that we would like to change, or would have liked to change. Hindsight's always 20/20.
Sure, amen.
But the flexibility of having that many options allows every shooter to go through and shoot to his competitive advantage, whether it be pistol, shotgun, or rifle. It allows them to go through and actually work at their strong points. So I saw several different people on one squad, and almost every single person shot them differently to suit their strengths. So yeah, big kudos, props out to Bill Lewis, Apollo 3-gun. He did a great job of designing those stages, and he's going to help us out again next year. Thanks, Bill.
All righty. And I'm going to go to Jay now. Jay, and I don't know, how well you remember. What would you say was your toughest stage? If you can think back, maybe what was the one stage that you thought was the toughest for you personally?
Well, the toughest stage, meaning to me, would be the one that I had the most trouble deciding on how to shoot it. I did have a couple stages that I wasn't happy with my performance, but that's a different thing, I think. But my toughest stage was probably stage 1. I kept going back and forth on options, and that's one of the things I love about this match too, was the options. I like having options. Sometimes it can be dangerous, because I did think about changing my plan a couple times. I ended up shooting it the way I originally was going to shoot it, which worked out perfectly. Had I gone the other route, I probably would have stumbled across the way and screwed it up. But you're always humming and hawing which is the fastest way to do things, right? Which is the most efficient. But ultimately, it always boils down to just working your plan. You got to plan that work and ingrain it in your memory. And by the time that buzzer goes off, you're just in play mode, just doing and not thinking. So I ended up doing that, and it worked out good. So stage 1 is the only one I could think of that was giving me problems as far as making a decision. So that, to me, was the toughest.
Okay. I would say for me, and again, this is from a rookie shooter perspective, and I shouldn't say toughest, it was just because things went wrong, was the sheepdog will hunt stage, which was shotgun only. And I had a good game plan, and Went into it. It was going great. And then I ran dry. I missed a planned reload. Went dry on a KD target. Had to do a static reload. Tried to make up for it. Got a little sloppy. Ran up to shoot. I had 4 slug rounds on a shell caddy that I stuck on my belt, ready to go at the 2 steel targets. And I know you know which stage I'm talking about, Jay. Yep. And aimed, I'm shooting deer slugs at 1,250 feet per second, and I probably should aim center mass. I aimed high, probably went over, missed all 4. Couple other screw-ups, timed out, took huge penalties. That was my biggest bonk by far. Other than that, a couple of the earlier stages, 3, 4, I did real well on. As far as options, and again, I want to pick your brain on this one. I noticed the options were a little bit more slanted, not towards rifle, but towards shotgun and handgun.
Well, it depends. Depends who's shooting it. It depends on your skill. Mm-hmm. A lot of guys I've seen shot mostly rifle and shotgun. Mm-hmm. There were a few guys that were obviously pistol shooters that took the pistol route. I think ultimately rifle and shotgun was the fastest way to go. But going back, before I forget, going back to
go ahead.
Going back to stage 10. So let me give you a piece of advice here. Whenever you're shooting slugs and your barrel is hot, I mean, you shot a bunch of rounds, your slugs will always impact higher than you think. So even though that was about a 75-yard target at that point,
sure,
him at the end by the spinner, right?
Yeah. I didn't even get to the spinner. That's a problem. I timed out right before I got to the spinner, so I took huge penalties on that stage.
Yeah. Always aim lower than you think. So if you aim low and you see splashdown, then all you gotta do is pull up. It's usually hard to see if you're aiming higher and shooting over the target. Depending on what's behind the target, it's harder to see your splashdown. Typically, there's been dirt kicked away by slugs hitting the target already, or the dirt in front of the target. But yeah, aim lower when your barrel's hot. Aim point of aim, like you know where your slugs are hitting when your barrel's cool, or when your barrel's hot, aim lower.
All right, great advice. I mean that's good stuff. And for me, and anybody who's watching, who does 3-gun or wants to get into 3-gun. And, for me, a lot of stages, a couple of stages, I did just that. I went, shotgun rifle, even though I had to run back and forth, but it worked out. And in a couple of stages, it didn't. A couple of stages, looking back, my handgun game was dead on. I didn't drop a point on paper, and, maybe had a grand total of out of 3 stages where I actually used my handgun, 2 or 3 makeup shots max. Thinking back, I say to myself now, maybe I should have used the handgun more. But that's a self-evaluation thing, and I'm sure you do the same thing.
Absolutely. Were you able to take some videos of your stage runs?
Yep.
So have you watched them and
absolutely
pick them apart? And yeah, so I mean, those are things that you figure out afterwards, and you try to apply to the next match. So we'll see what happens Sunday, huh?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, coming up Sunday. So Jim, now you first day a little chaotic. I know you had to deal with a lot of things. So as a match director, what is your mindset during the competition? You got to cover a lot of ground. You got to deal with a lot of stuff. Go ahead and talk about it.
Well, I mean, basically as a match director, you're there to make sure everything stays fair and consistent. There's only a set amount of rules, and it doesn't cover everything. If not, we would have 1,000 pages worth of rules. So really it boils down to safety. And safety is paramount when it comes to the shooting sports. And there is really no him-hawing about safety. It's pretty much absolute. If it's a safety violation, it's typically a DQ. There's a multitude of things that happen throughout the match. I've kind of addressed those. There's a whole write-up on ASC 3-gun. If anybody would like to visit it and comment, I'd be more than happy to. But I think we took really good notes. We had a really good RO meeting afterwards.
Great.
Everybody kind of compared notes. Matt Metzger sent me his group of notes. We kind of we basically talked about everything and how we were going to correct it moving forward. You know, we pretty much started this match as a first time go around for ASC 3-gun with a larger 10-stage, basically major style format match with a higher volume of shooters than we're usually used to. You know, we've been doing this for the last 3 years, running pretty close to 6 stages. We tuned it down a little bit this year, but we've been running around 60 shooters. This time we ran a little over 100. All in all, it's pretty much the same type of format. There's a lot more going on, a lot more people traveling distances who are a lot more into the competitive or the, let's say, arbitrary aspect of the rules. But all in all, I think it was a really good match. I think we've addressed any concerns that we had during the match. I think everything was fair and consistent. We've kind of covered that throughout the ROs moving forward. So I think all in all, it was a great match. Everybody had a great time. We helped a great charity, and it's going to be a heck of a lot better next year because we're going to have a 600-yard range, 200-yard range, and we're going to mix it up quite a bit. So the plans are already in the works. We've already posted it. I think it's going to open on February 1st for registration for next year. We've already whole group has already been talking about what we're going to do. So we want to kind of continue along that major match format. We're going to have our rules nailed down a little bit harder. We're going to have a little bit more of a mix of some long range, a little bit more athletic with probably a couple runaround stages. And then we'll continue on with the rest of some of our base stages.
Yeah, and I got to say, you know, you had a ton of signups. It was a great turnout. You know, granted, you know, the heat was pretty rough, but, you know, guys came around. We had bottled water. You know, a lot of us brought our own stuff too. But, you know, it was tough, which it should be. And overall, you know, I thought it was great. A lot of signups, and the different divisions were well represented. I found it interesting because I actually had a chat with one of the better factory division shooters, Dan Andrew, you know, and talking to him about one particular stage where we both pretty much were about the same score, and both of us, for whatever reason, could not get that last doggone plate on that Texas Star. And there's, you know, and I went on YouTube and we talk about things like spinners and Texas Stars. You know, there's a technique, so to speak, of shooting them. And I want to go back to Jay here. Go ahead, talk about the Texas Star.
Oh, you mean the
and
Death Star.
What would be your technique, Jay, to shoot the Texas Star?
So I'm assuming you're talking about the Death Star.
Yeah, Saint Death Star, Texas Star. Yeah, I was told shoot at the top round first and then go right.
No, so there's a Texas Star, which is just a static star. The Death Star is a pendulum, which is a Texas Star on a pendulum. So
right,
the difference is the sequence of engagements on those plates. So obviously you have your activator, and then, and then there's differences of opinions on how to attack this thing. Mark Roth and I had talked to our squad the day of the first day of the match, because that was our first stage of the following day. So we thought that these guys, being newer shooters, would appreciate the information that we were about to give them as far as how to approach this target. And we talked about this exactly. So the way, I explained to them the way that I approach it, and Mark explained the way he approaches it, which is slightly different. Basically, I hit the activator plate.
Right.
And then I hit the top plate.
Yep.
The right plate. And then immediately the left plate, the bottom right plate, then the bottom left plate. If they were to stay the way, imagine that they were to stay the way they were presented in that order, and do it fairly quickly. But ultimately, the goal is to, whichever way the Death Star is swinging,
because it's swinging, it's moving.
It's swinging and it's turning. The key is whichever way it's swinging to, you hit the opposite side plate, right? Because if it's swinging to the left and you hit that left plate, as it's going to the left, what happens is all the energy from the rightmost plate, let's say, swinging back as it goes to the right, or as it goes to the left and then to the right, it's going to do that quote unquote death spin on you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it gets really bad on two plates. It's even worse on one plate. I mean, it's damn near impossible.
Yeah, it's out of control. It's like all over the place.
Right. But talking to our squad and watching them shoot the morning of the following day was pretty neat, because these guys, we told them, don't get hung up on this target. You could spend all day back here loading and trying to hit every plate. Don't go to war with it. Just, engage all the plates, engage them in the order that that we talked about, that you think is best, and then move on. And the guys, a couple of the guys got all the plates, and a couple of guys left one or two plates on there, and they moved on, and they had a much better stage time than if they would have kept going after it. So it was good to see that confidence in them, knowing that they had a plan and worked that plan. So
yeah, and again, as a rookie shooter, that was kind of my plan. I got the most of the plates. I just had the one. After burning about 3 rounds, I said, nope, not worth it. Boom, move on. And because, again, you got to know rules, failure to neutralize versus failure to engage. And that plays into the, into the penalties, into the time penalties. So now next, let me ask you about spinners.
Yeah.
So what is your strategy for shooting spinner? There were 2 spinners on the Sheepdog Will Hunt stage.
Yeah. So spinners it's all about timing. We were shooting at those spinners, for people that weren't there. We were shooting at them with shotgun, and the spinners were not far, and they were pretty flush to you, squared up to you. So those are things you kind of want to look at. Is it, how far is it? Is it at an angle? Because it being at an angle means that energy transferring from the shot to the plate will be a little bit different. Won't be full on as if it was square to you. So it was fairly close and pretty square to you. So the way that I attack it is a double hit on the bottom.
Okay.
And then one to the top, and it typically goes over no problem. That particular target at that distance damn near went over with just 2 shots. One, either one good hit on the bottom or 2 good hits on the bottom, or one on the bottom, one on the top. So the key is also, if it doesn't go over the first time you shoot at it, you have to time it so that, let's say you hit the bottom plate and then it's swinging back, and then as the top plate starts to move forward and back, you have to shoot it right before it gets parallel to you, so that it's got full energy transference from your shot shell, and then it'll go over. So being patient enough to to watch for that. A lot of guys rush it and they end up stopping the plate or just hitting the arm. But getting well-aimed shots on the paddles, on the plates, as opposed to the arms, that is key.
Because you're playing with momentum.
Absolutely. Yep. And there being two of them probably tricks people into going, left one, right one. And then they're supposed to be waiting on the left one, and then they get confused by the movement of the right one, and now it's, oh man, I missed my window on the the top left plate, and that's why I recommend doing one at a time.
Right, one at a time.
But unless you're really, familiar with that type of target, and you're confident with going two plates at once, or one right after the other, I recommend just shooting at one at a time.
Right.
Yeah, I saw a couple guys actually move that around with two to the bottom.
Yeah.
And I want to say he's not here, but I want to give a shout out to Bill Carkran. He shoots heavy metal division, and I was fortunate enough to have him on my squad. And as an experienced shooter, there was a whole lot I was able to learn from him, particularly on one stage. And Jay, you probably remember this stage. I looked at it. It was pretty much straightforward with short targets for the shotgun, and then paper targets a little bit long, and some weird angles. And, I was just chatting with him, and he came up to me. He said, so what are you going to do? I said, well, I think I'm going to start with rifle. He says, no. He says, start with shotgun. And I said, why? He said, well, look, you start with your shotgun, put your rifle in the barrel, your shotgun, you're right here in the middle. All those clays and KD targets are right in front of you. You go through them first, ground it, and then now all you got to do is shoot the paper. I did it a little bit different. He shot the last two KD steals with his handgun, but the point is, being on a squad with an experienced shooter and a guy who shoots competition all the time, I got a lot of good input from him, and that was one of my better stages, actually, and I did, I looked at it and I said, you know what? Yeah, he's right. It's perfect. If I start here with a shotgun, everything's right smack here in front of me, ground it, and now I don't have to run back and forth as much, and I've got good angles on the paper targets with the AR. And that's why I say, if you're a newer shooter and you're on a squad with an experienced shooter, like obviously Jay here, hey, pay attention, listen and learn.
Yeah, it's always good to talk amongst your peers, no matter, how inexperienced or experienced they are. You never know what great idea someone will come up with that you're not seeing. So highly recommend it.
Yep. Jim?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a ton of guys. If you go back and look, Mark and Jay spent a whole lot of time. There's probably 4 younger guys that are just starting out. They're highly competitive, very into it, sharp guys. I had all of those guys come up to me afterwards and say what a great experience it was just to be on a squad with those guys and sharing those experiences.
Yeah, and that's and the nice thing about it is too, within this community, because people are willing to share information, and you can get so much, and I've shot, since April 21st, which was my first 3-gun, and then coming into this one, this was a lot more technical, and it was an eye-opener, and I had a few stages, which I did well, and I had a few stages where I took a lot of penalties, but again, it's all part of the learning experience. It's all part of getting, learning, improving, self-evaluation, looking back, saying, okay, now I see, okay, yeah, that was a mistake. Maybe I should have done this better. Definitely had some mistakes with the slug shooting, and Jay, obviously right here, you pointed out some very good advice, and that's all part of the growing experience.
Well, I think Jay will agree. It's probably everybody says kind of the same thing. It's probably the only sport out there where your competitor is actually going to show you how to beat him. That's how good the 3-gun community is.
Absolutely. It all boils down to performance, executing your plan. Everyone, I mean, I love to see people succeed. It's not an easy feat to just execute your plan. It's a lot easier said than done. But when you watch it come together, whether for yourself or for your friend, it's a pretty cool feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like my youngest son came out to watch a 3-gun and thought it was awesome, and then I actually got him to come out and shoot in a USPSA match at down there in Plainfield. And I thought it was great. Just first time shooter, come out. Hey, just do it. Just do it.
Everybody is out there to help the sport, get new shooters involved. I always try and have a couple introductory or train up classes a couple times a year out at ASC. I did one in the spring. There was probably about 20 guys that came out, and we did things like shoot the Death Star. We got to shoot spinners. We shot spinners with shotgun and pistol. We shot the Death Star with shotgun and pistol. A lot of things that guys don't get to do, but they're going to go out there and see and get to perform on something that they're going to see at a major style match.
Yeah, another thing, and I haven't mentioned this before, but you just kind of introduced it this first time, and hopefully next year we'll make it a little bit more of a thing, was the bragging rights, the state thing, because folks, if you weren't there, we had shooters from Minnesota, Indiana, obviously Illinois, Wisconsin, and
Texas.
I know it was close. Yeah. Well, yeah, he came all the way up from Houston. Bill, yeah, we had people come out, but as far as the team portion, and the damn cheeseheads, managed to. It was close. I know it was close.
Well, competitive bragging rights in the Midwest, absolutely. It's Matt came up with that last minute. And I'm like, oh, that is a great idea.
Yeah.
It was kind of a last minute thing we pulled out, but we're definitely going to expand on that next year.
Yeah, I thought it was a great idea, and again, it was close. It was really close. It wasn't like, anybody blew anybody else out. The scores were tight. If you would, Jim, go ahead and just kind of explain what the criteria was. I think it was the top 4 or 5 shooters?
Yeah, it was the top 5 shooters from each state. So basically Matt went through and kind of backed out the top 5 shooters of each state, compiled those scores, divided them by 5, and that's how we came up with the final score.
And
but definitely next year, like I said, it was last minute. Next year, we're probably going to have a little something to pass around for like the Midwest state winner. And I think it's going to be something more along the lines to where you actually get your name put on it, and we just keep passing.
Nice. Nice. I think that's a great idea. So you spoke about this a little bit earlier, Jim. So moving forward, if you can kind of tease or just mention what are you looking at next year? And I'm going to mention this straight up, folks. If I can swing it, I'm going to do a damn documentary on this. If I can get my video crew assembled and cover this whole thing in video and then do a DVD on it.
Well, basically, this all kind of started out as, I've been match director at ASC 3-gun for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
I've been shooting 3-gun for close to 6.
And you shoot well. You shoot well. I'm just going to say this straight up. You shoot well.
I used to shoot a lot better before I was running matches.
Yeah, you still shoot well, though. I'm going to say that straight up. You still shoot well.
But you know what? After doing that, we're just kind of wired this way. I always have this need to like give back to the community.
Amen.
So I really wanted to have something, and I kind of preach that in my family too. So I wanted to do something other than just putting a few bucks in the club's pockets. I went to the board and I said, hey, you know what? I've been wanting to do this big match here, to kind of help promote the club and everything else. But I've kind of changed gears. You know, I've done this for 3 years for the club. I really feel it's time to give back to the community, especially me being a combat veteran. I want to give back to the combat veteran community, and this is what I want to do.
There's a bunch of us out there.
Absolutely. I met little to no resistance whatsoever. The club got behind me, you know, and I really have to commend our club, Aurora Sportsman's Club. We have a handful of veterans that are on the board, a handful of civilian guys, but everybody really got behind it. You know, I hear of all these other matches popping up for charity matches or whatever, but I'm going to tell you this. Aurora Sportsman's Club backed us 100%. They would normally charge $3,000 plus for the use of those 10 plus bays and the use of the facilities. They would charge us for all the clays that we use from the shotgun group. They didn't charge us one red cent. They actually helped us to piggyback onto their zombie event so we could continue on with like the porta potties, the tent, and all that stuff at a minimal fee. So all in all, I mean, Aurora Sportsman's Club actually put thousands and thousands of dollars into the pockets of Mission 22. So I really have to put a big shout out and a big thanks to Aurora Sportsman's Club because as big as they are and as much as we're run by more or less a corporate type environment, I'll tell you what, they support the community and they support our veterans. So a big shout out to them and a big thank you.
Oh, amen. And I'm proud to be a member of Aurora Sportsman's Club. You know, it was great to be able to get to join, and I got in, you know, right before they close them on membership. I know they have a waiting list now, and you know, people leave and people come in, but it's a great community. It's a great range complex. It's absolutely phenomenal, and there's very few places you can go in the state of Illinois and have a 600-yard range where you can shoot long gun, and then all the other ranges, plus trap, skeet, archery, and even 2 fishing ponds to throw into all of that. And I mean, a great membership, a lot of people, and like you said, you know, they got behind this, and this was a really great thing.
So just to expand on that, as for next year, they've given me a little bit more leeway. I tried to schedule it last year to use a 600-yard range, but, you know, I mean, it is for our membership. There was a lot of stuff going on. I actually have some other really cool stuff to talk about, too, with the Oscar Mike guys and the fact that Travis Haley was there doing classes at the same time and, you know, just took a bunch of time out with the Oscar Mike guys. But we'll talk about it. Well, it
was great. And actually, you know what, mentioned about Oscar Mike, because they did the T-shirts after Grunt Style dropped out.
Absolutely. You know what? You guys want to support a great group. A bunch of disabled veterans is what they support, getting to adaptive sports. So they're keeping them from sitting around their houses on a regular basis. They're giving them a purpose to go to all these adaptive sporting events, whether it's, I mean, they have a compound, they bring them out, they put them behind the stick of an airplane to learn how to fly. They run out, they run them freaking running UTVs. Like Polaris Rangers through mud sports, all that stuff, give them an opportunity to drive. A lot of it's hand controlled. Then after that, they take them, they throw them out of a plane on the third day that they just learned how to fly. And it goes on. And they teach them. They actually teamed up this year with the Spartan Race Series, along with Orange County Choppers, who is making a chopper for them to auction off. So if anybody's out there and you don't have anything to do on October 19th, they are having their big gala ball down at the Hilton Inn at O'Hare. It's going to be awesome. Orange County Choppers are going to be there. There's a bunch of people. Look up OscarMike.org and support them, because literally their profits, they're not a regular T-shirt company. When you buy a T-shirt from them, their profits actually go to support adaptive sports and getting all these veterans who have been, whether they're amputees or quadra or paraplegics, out to all these different sporting events nationwide. So
that's awesome.
Check them out.
All right. So Jay, now this is over. You know, we got Plainfield coming up.
Yeah.
So for you personally, what is your schedule as far as shooting events coming up look like?
Well, this Saturday, actually, I have Indiana USPSA sectional. I'll be shooting PCC there. Then Sunday, we've got the 3-gun event at Oak Park in Plainfield. I've got a team match at Bend of the River in Michigan in October. I've got the Polo 3-gun finale shoot off, last match of the year for those guys in October. November, I've got a couple matches I'm looking at. I'm going to shoot an all shotgun match in Kentucky. Then December, I've got the hard as hell match in Utah. That's always a fun match.
Go ahead and just real quick. Go ahead and talk about the hard as hell in Utah, because, folks, if you don't know this, it's insane.
It's always a good time. The folks at the Southern Utah Practical Shooters range in near St. George, Utah, they put on a hell of a match. They've done some really great props, like a roller coaster. I think it was back in 2014 or 2015. I actually got a chance to shoot that the following year. I didn't get to make it to that hard as hell, but you're shooting off a roller coaster that they built. It was it was pretty cool. They have you scaling a wall, then doing some shooting. They've got you shooting out of vehicles. They've got you shooting with a weighted vest and shooting props and through walls and throwing flashbangs and breaking doors in. It's a pretty cool match. And the nice thing about this match is that to me, it's the end of the year match for me. It's a major match, but it's a low stress, just have fun, shoot with your friends. Coaching is allowed, so
yeah,
you need a super, awesome stage plan unless you're trying to win, I just go there really to have fun. I like to do well. I do well. But you don't have to remember all the long ranges. People can yell them at you, which is really great. Because when I go there, I just turn everything off and shoot. So
sure,
it's a good time. I highly recommend doing it if someone's looking at major match to travel to. People are great. Dr. Practice Corps lives out there himself. The guy that invented and maintains Practice Corps, Ken Nelson. He's got a great support staff with Petro and everyone else that's out there, Brian Nelson and whole TPC crew, a bunch of great people. So yeah, definitely looking in that match if you're like having fun and shooting guns in a great, beautiful range.
Yeah, that is definitely a premier destination for anybody in the action shooting sports.
Yep.
All right, and now I'm going to say to the 3-gun community, we covered this Multigun Championship. Aurora Sportsman's Club here in Illinois, plus Oak Park Sportsman's Club, host tons of matches. If you want to get into the sport, jump on it. And on polo too.
Real quick, let me interrupt you real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Check it out. So on Sunday at Oak Park Sportsman Club,
yep,
I'm gonna be bringing with this Rubber City Armory bolt carrier group. This beautiful black nitrided Rubber City Armory bolt carrier group. All right, be giving that away. Be a random draw.
Sweet.
Okay. I'm wearing this so people recognize me when they see me. Yep. I've got the Hyperfire comp.
Okay.
All right, that we'll give away also. And I've got a Luth AR Chubby grip. Okay.
Nice.
So come on out to the match. Hopefully we win some cool stuff, have a good time, shoot some guns. And I look forward to shooting with you. I'm also going to be willing and open to give out stage plans or any type of help that anyone's looking for. So all you got to do is just come up and talk to me. So
yeah, absolutely. I want to piggyback on that because, Jay, you are one of the best ambassadors of this sports I've ever seen. You're easily approachable. You know, you can ask him anything. You can talk to him, you know, and like you just said, that's where he's going to be in Plainfield, Oak Park Sportsman's Club, Sunday, 3-gun match. And even if you just come out, you know, and even if you're a first-time shooter, just do it, you know. There's nothing to worry about, and he'll tell you anything you want to know.
Happy to do it.
Oh,
absolutely.
And even if you haven't shot and you're just interested, come out and watch a match. I've had so many guys just come out and just watch for the day and talk to everybody so they at least come prepared the next time.
Yep.
Just come out and watch and ask questions. Everybody's more than helpful.
Absolutely. You can get advice. You can get info on gear, on everything.
Before 9 o'clock, though, because they lock the gates. Get there before 9 o'clock. They lock the gates. And then people might not hear their phones if you're trying to call someone. So,
yeah.
Yep. But come on out. We're more than happy to show you the sport and get you involved.
Yeah, and the nice thing, too, about Oak Park Sportsman's Club, you know, the bays are going to be relatively close. You're not going to have to do a lot of walking. Stages will be a little bit smaller, a little bit tighter because their bays are smaller, but it's a great environment. And, again, the people in this sport are friendly. You know, you're not going to run into trash talkers. You're not going to run into people with the big egos, etc. We're all out there just to have fun. And, you know, and to become better shooters.
Absolutely.
And as I mentioned before, you know, again, if you're somebody who has a FOID or a concealed carry license, if you want to improve your basic shooting skills, there is nothing better than competitive shooting. And I don't care if it's IDPA. I don't shoot IDPA, but they're out there. USPSA, 3-gun. If you want to become a better shooter, this is the easiest way to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
all right. So I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. Jim, anything you want to add?
Hey, Jay.
Yeah.
You want to help me design the 600 here?
Well, if I do that, then I can't shoot it. So I'm gonna have to think about that.
Yeah. No. I've got a handful of ideas for sure. But no, I appreciate everybody's help in putting this together. We definitely plan on growing it for next year. This year, I think we kind of took the back seat on the stages, or not the stages, but the actual competition itself, and kind of sold it as a full-out charity match. I think there was a handful of guys that wanted it to be more of a major-style match. So I think we're going to actually kind of correct any issues we had with it being a major-style format, because a lot of guys were very interested in that, well beyond the charity aspect of it. So I think it's going to be fully rounded next year with a real tight set of rules that guys can be confident in, as well as a heck of a lot of great stages, reaching out to 600 and very a little bit more well-rounded, kind of what we're more used to seeing in the in basically the major style format of matches.
Sounds great.
But definitely a ton of people helped out. Thank you to everybody. You know, we raised $21,000 for Mission 22. They showed up. They sold another $2,500 in shirts, basically, which is almost double what they sell at most other places. So thank you very much to the 3-gun community for supporting this event, as well as Mission 22. Definitely, my heart's out there.
All righty. Jay, anything you want to part with?
No, just thanks for having me. And I appreciate you guys' interest in our sport. Remember to always support those companies that support our sport. Please take a look at Rubber City Armory, Trigicon, Armalite, Nexus Ammo, American Defense Manufacturing, Luth AR, Roth Performance, Weber Tactical, ShootSteel.com, Gargoyles Performance Eyewear, Hyperfire, Peak Performance Ammo, Gamil Shooting Supply, Third Monkey Apparel, Range at 355, Lucas Oil Outdoor Line, and if you like to drink, check out Four Roses Bourbon. So,
I love their stuff. And
well, I'm an Irish whiskey drinker, so but yeah, and I got to say, if you want to build a performance shotgun, like Jay just mentioned, their Roth Performance, that's the place to go. Definitely
is the Ferrari of shotguns.
Amen. And I jumped on that one.
Can't wait till you get it.
I can't either. All right, this is Mack Bolen. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I want to give a huge thanks to Jim Welker for setting all of this up for hashtag Mission 22. And obviously for Jay, you know, God bless you. You know, you're the epitome of this sport. You're a great ambassador. There's no better person I can think of who, you know, has the talent, but at the same time has the humility, who is grounded, who is down to earth. And if you ever get a chance to walk up and talk to him, please do, because he's the kind of person, you know, that really presents this sport and gives everybody that, hey, you can do this, hey, it's not a big issue. Now I'm going to end on one other thing, and this is strictly to veterans. And I say this specifically as a veteran. I spent 24 years in the Army, when I was in special operations, and I was in combat. I was in a lot of tense situations. Folks, if you're in the military, you're not alone. Go out there and reach out. I knew a guy who had issues while he was in the military. He got out of the service. He had issues. When I got the email that he had passed, even though they didn't give details, I knew it was a suicide. He turtled up. You know what? Don't. Folks, reach out. We're all here for you. If you need to, and here's my bit of advice, build a foundation. Go back and look at your life. Look at every single time that anybody ever thought you would fail at something, at any time people doubted you, at any time you overcame obstacles. Build a foundation. Use every single thing you can, personally, family, all your experiences. Make yourself stronger. And don't be afraid at the same time to reach out if you need help. And if there's nothing else, as a veteran, if you're watching this and we're talking suicide prevention, if there's nothing else that you can take away from this, do that. Be that. Get stronger. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because as A-type personnel, one of our biggest strengths is also one of our biggest weaknesses. And if you ever get in that dark place, reach out to the rest of us, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. Do not give up. Not now, not ever. Don't ever give up. Don't. Because you have friends, you have family who love you and who will support you. So I say again, do not give up.
Yeah,
I got to a point to where I was low, and I didn't. And I reached back, and I built the foundation that I had before, and it got me through it. And if you can, that's what you need to do.
And that's one of the great things about Mission 22, Mac, is that they're really out there, and they're teaming up. They're doing one thing that a lot of groups fail to do, is they're just teaming up with more and more of these other smaller veteran support groups. And I posted something a while back that we're type A personnel.
Amen.
And we don't talk. We don't share our feelings, and it definitely leads to a deep, dark place. But bottom line, if all you got to do is just turn around and you'll realize that there's hundreds and hundreds of people behind you just waiting for you to just put your hand out and accept some help.
Absolutely. And like I said before, don't let your greatest strength be your greatest weakness. Do not be afraid to ask for help or to reach out to somebody, because everybody at some point in their life reaches a low point. Don't let that low point be your end.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm saying part of the great thing about Mission 22 is teaming up with all these other smaller veteran support groups. A lot of it is just get involved again with the veteran community, maybe on a different format. It may be hunting, it may be fishing, it may be going out and supporting something else, but at least you're back in that community again that supports itself.
Amen. All right, so this is Mack Bolen, and I want to give a huge thanks to both Jay Carillo and Jim Welker for being on tonight. Everybody, if you didn't catch this live, obviously, this will be archived and uploaded to YouTube. You can watch this anytime you want. By all means, a lot of great information here. So please, watch, catch up. Any comments, any criticism you have, I am more than happy to hear it. So I'm going to go ahead and say goodnight, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I do plenty, and there'll be more in the future. And God bless you. Yeah, thank you, Jay. Amen, brother.
You bet. And thank you, Mac, for putting it all together.
All right, hey, no problem. It's my pleasure, and we get the word out. So, again, I'm going to say goodnight. God bless you all. God bless America, and have a good evening.
Amen to that.